Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good day, good moment to you, wherever and whenever you are on this sweet, wild, sacred earth. Don't need my glasses to be able to see better. I'm Julie Ling, and this is the Voice of Wonder. Thank you for joining me. I'm so happy that you're here. I invite you to let yourself settle into your body. Today, I want to talk about how do I put it? Receiving help. Someone in my life recently sent me a message that basically implied I was never there for them. And I realized that every time I've reached out, they've batted me away. And isn't that interesting that they seem to be telling other people and blaming me for not being there for them when they haven't asked? There's been sort of a silent demand. And every time I have showed up, they've been nasty. And then I realized that something happened to me in the last few days that was really upsetting for me. And this morning, I realized I felt really alone without anybody to really hold me in it the way I needed. And then I realized I haven't asked. I haven't had the courage to reach out and say, I am in pain and I need help meeting and holding this. Would you be willing to meet and hold me? And so people haven't stepped up to do that. It was like, here I am. Part of me going, oh man, nobody's here for me because I didn't ask. And it feels awkward, embarrassing, and real. And I realize how often I've been afraid to ask. Afraid I'd ask and people'd say no or would be unavailable. And then I noticed myself spiraling into, well, of course, everybody has problems. You're not that important. Nobody needs to be there for you. They and ad nauseum and ad miserium, and it doesn't serve. So I invite you to notice, where would you love support and haven't asked because it doesn't feel safe to? Can you meet that scared part? part that's been hurt when you've asked and the answer's been no, or fine, or I'm busy, or the answer's been silence? Well, wouldn't you be afraid to risk that? And yet, how can you expect anyone to help when you don't ask? You can't really. And for me, and maybe for you, it's been this silent demand, this thought of, you should know. If you love me, you should know, and you should be there for me. And that's a pushing, and pushing always creates resistance. Even when it's subconscious, unconscious, unintentional, people feel it. They feel that you're pushing. They feel that I'm pushing. And they push back. No, you can't make me. No, sorry, I'm busy. No, no, no. No, I'm not going to go there with you, Julie. One person in my life had said to me several times. I hated that. And it's hard to change what we don't see. And first step in seeing others more clearly is seeing ourselves more clearly. And maybe we've resented others' silent demands of us without realizing we have been silently demanding too, and resenting or being angry with others for not reading our minds and offering and meeting our silent demands. And I don't know about you, but I'm kind of done with responding to terrorist threats. And silent demands feel a bit like terrorism to me. On a very small scale, yes. And still, the energy is the same. Do this or else. So just having, or finding, or offering, letting, allowing a little bit of compassion for yourself in this. And maybe letting in a little bit of compassion for the others who've done it. Maybe just as unconsciously, maybe just as unwittingly, or maybe deliberately because they felt like they needed that power and control. And the only way they could have it was to have it over you. And haven't we all done that? And I think that we do that because somehow we don't recognize that we have it to give inside ourselves. What if that's just what it is to be human? And the more we can meet it in ourselves with the compassion, the more we can meet it in others with compassion, with kindness. See it with a kind eye, or at least a kinder eye. Just notice where you can see this in yourself with a kind eye, with a little bit of grace, with a little bit more compassion, or just let it in. And if you can't find it inside of you, let it come into you through the flute music. Let the flute open your heart and even add a few drops of grace, kindness, compassion, love. And what if the next time, and it'll probably happen, someone issues silent or loud demands that you should, that you have to. That if you loved them, you would. If you were a good friend, a good mother, a good daughter, a good son, a good whatever human being, you would do this thing that they're silently or loudly demanding you do, but not asking or not letting you and then blaming you for not doing it. Where have you done that? And where could you say to yourself or to them, oh, yeah, but you didn't ask. If you asked, I'd be happy to do this for you. It would be my honor. But when you demand it, I don't want to. It doesn't feel right to respond to demands, terrorist or otherwise, and I don't want to do it that way. So I invite you to ask me instead and give me the chance to do it for you out of love. Marshall Rosenberg once said, when we do a thing out of duty or obligation, we all pay for that. I invite you to stop paying. I invite you to let go of demanding. And even though it's much more vulnerable to ask than demand, there's a lot more power in it for you and for the other person. And when you ask where the goal is you asking, you stepping up for yourself and asking for what you'd love and what you'd need without needing it to come from any one person, man, that's power. And when they say no, okay, thanks. I only want you to say yes when it's a real yes. And this way I can trust your yes as well as your no. Just drink that in. So I invite you today to just notice with kindness, with a kind eye, even for a moment. And if your inner critic comes up, meet that with a kind eye. Oh, you're scared. Here's this cup asking for love. Get out my pitcher and pour a little more in. It's a little more kindness for the part of you that's naturally scared to ask. Sometimes the no's really hurt. And they hurt more when it comes across as an unconscious demand. And if we ask cleanly without attachment, where the ask is the gift, and I've said to people, a no is as good as a yes, and thank you for feeling safe to ask. And I only do that with people who do feel safe to ask. And, if they lambast you, then they're not safe to ask, and you'll make a different choice. That's a gift. To ask without attachment, and your no is as good as a yes. That often grants people the freedom to give a yes and do the thing you'd love for them to. So I just invite you to notice that where it's alive in you as you go through your day. How have you not asked, and could you? And could you ask cleanly, where the asking is a gift, and the answer, whatever it is a gift, because you want the real one. To stop being a yes person. The have to say yes to everything and anything, and then nobody trusts it because they can feel the resentment underneath. But a yes to what is, what's alive, a yes to yourself and the other. That's my desire, my dream, my wish for you, my vision for you. And even if you're only able to do that once, it's one more time than you have before. If you're able to do that twice, that's twice as much. Everything's better the second time around. And if you're able to do it 3 times, well, 3 is a magic number. Oh, yes, it is. So today, a double dog dare you. Notice where you want something and you're not asking, or someone else wants something and they're not asking, they're demanding. And your go-to has been to either say no or yes. How can you do it cleanly? Just a little more. How can you see it with a kinder eye, with a little more grace, with a little more love, and feel that power from inside, power too. And when you ask cleanly, a yes is as good as a no, and thank you for being safe to ask. That's an invitation for them to own their power too. Say yes or no as an act of love either way, for themselves and for you. That's a gift. That's a great cup to fill. May it be filled for you a little more today. So I'm Julie Ling, inviting you to let your heart, your truth, your power, your own agency, your own clarity sing a little bit more or a lot more today. Have a beautiful and a blessed day. And I'll be here tomorrow. I hope you'll join me.